Hello, this is Eric Thompson. I am president and lead financial advisor of Peerless Wealth, a registered investment advisory firm located in Columbus, Ohio. As always, thank you for tuning in. I try to post content that is applicable to things I hear my clients saying, questions that they have, and to the most people possible. So this one, I'm going to talk about how do you measure your financial progress, the do's and the don'ts. And I'm going to start with a couple quotes. One's from C.S. Lewis. Progress means getting nearer to the place you want to be. And then my second one, I think, is my favorite. This is from Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman is probably one of the best known to be one of the most successful bodybuilders over the last 20 to 30 years. His quote is, "Progress takes time and discipline." So knowing those things as a backdrop, how do we measure that when we're trying to get to a financial goal? When you go to the doctor's office, he checks your vitals, he compares them to maybe last year. He might recommend certain things, whether it's a prescription or a diet. In other words, measuring your progress. He gives you a report, recommends a course of action. You see him next year. Maybe you have a personal trainer. You might do weigh-ins. You might check how much weight you can lift, maybe heart rate, maybe BMI. These are all things that you hire other professionals for to measure your progress. So what do we do in my world? How do I do that for clients? Well, first let me tell you how we don't do it. And most individual investors, and I believe it's kind of the media's fault, but we have 24/7 access to our accounts, to the markets. And I think too many people judge their progress on what the market does today or next week or even over a month. And it's because it's thrown at us all the time. And the analogy I'll give is you don't measure the distance from here to Florida with a ruler. It's just kind of ridiculous. If you were going to get in a car and go on a road trip to Florida and you wanted to measure your progress, would you look at your odometer every mile? You could, but it would kind of be ridiculous. You look at it every few hours, measure it that way. If you get in a traffic jam and you're not going and you're stopped, do you turn around and go home and do you measure that window of time as the average? No, you got to kind of take big blocks of time over hundreds of miles and judge your progress that way. So the biggest thing about measuring progress is avoid the temptation for your time horizon to be too short. Most people my clients are saving for longer term goals such as retirement, maybe college education for their kids. These are 5, 10, 20, 30-year goals. Sometimes they want to pass money along to the next generation. So we need to measure with appropriate yardsticks, if you will. Knowing that, I use two tools when I sit down with my clients and do a review. The first, and I'm gonna put a sample of this up on the screen so you can see it. This is an actual one of my clients, and I've whited the names out for obvious reasons, but I wanted to show you, in real life, kind of what I use to do reporting. And these are some clients that are kind of, middle along in life. They still have 10 or 15 years to retirement. And we have some reporting. It links up to their accounts that I'm quarterbacking the investments and managing those. And this is a performance report. This basically says, hey, when did I start? How much money did I start with? How much have I added or subtracted? And what's the growth been? And sometimes it's hard to figure that out when you just look at your monthly statement and then you have 5 accounts and you're not quite sure how to add it all up, right? Well, this software that I have does it literally on one page. So on the left, we see the client's accounts. They have, the first one is a non-retirement joint account. They each have a regular IRA. They each have a Roth IRA. And it shows the balances of each one. And these particular clients started in November of 2020. So not quite 3 years ago, based on when I'm doing this video. And this puts it in plain English. What did they start with? Well, if I total all the accounts, they started with $775,935. How much did they add? That's their net deposit. Well, the first account, they made a withdrawal of $5,500. They needed a down payment for a car. It's no problem. The last two accounts, Roth IRAs, they're adding to, or at least they have over the last few years. So how much should they start with? How much did they add? They added $23,600. How much is it currently worth? It's worth $1,045,344. So then the investment gain, which is the second to last column, is $245,809. So that's the pure dollar amount that they've gained over the last nearly 3 years. Well, how about percentages? Well, that 10.48, that's their average annual, not cumulative, but that's their average annual rate of return. So they now see in plain English, how are they doing in terms of the raw numbers. Now we graph that up top. The black line is their net investment, which has stayed relatively stable. They've added a little and subtracted a little, but it barely registers on that line. The green line is the value of their investments, and you can see that goes up and down, but over time it's gone up. And if the green is higher than the black, we know we're positive, and that's the $245,000 and change. So there you go. That's how I do a review for clients. But there's a second piece of it too, and this one's a little bit bigger picture, more holistic. And this is some additional software I have that lets us plan out the client's retirement. And I'm going to give you again the names are whited out. But I'm going to show you the client's goals. And there's a proposed column and a current column. I'm going to show you the proposed column. He wants to retire at 62. She wants to retire at 59. They're 3 years apart, so that's effectively the same time. They want to retire with $10,000 a month of after-tax, inflation-adjusted retirement income. They have 2 kids, and they want to spend $20,000 a year for their college, so we work that into the equation. They're going to retire before 65, so they need money for health insurance before Medicaid kicks in at 65. I worked in $81,000 for that. And then from age 62 to 75, they want bonus money, and this was my idea. Most people want more money the first part of their retirement than the last part of their retirement because they're healthy enough to enjoy it. So we're going to give them an annual bonus of $36,000, which is an additional $3,000 a month, on top of their $10,000. But that only lasts till age 75. Then that annual bonus stops and they're back to the $10,000. And these include Social Security, by the way. We've projected those. And so those are the goals. And then the next page gives us a probability. The proposed plan has an 86% probability of success. What this software does is it runs the plan through the ringer. It goes back 100 years. It looks at the historical returns of how they are invested in terms of blends between different types of stocks, large company, small company, maybe getting more conservative as they get closer to retirement, living till a certain age, usually the mid-90s. And 86% of the time, they accomplish those goals without running out of money. And what that does is that's a high probability. And that gives these clients a sleep at night factor. But what they can do is they can say, hey, what if I want $11,000 a month instead of 10? We can go right in on the software and say, okay, well now you have a 75% probability. And they're like, well, I want that 86. Well, then you got to save a little bit more. So we can do the trade-offs. We can do it right there with the client. And they walk away knowing they have a plan. You know, I can retire here with high probability. And they also know how their investments are doing from that first review I showed you. So those are the 2 mechanisms I use during annual reviews for most of my clients. You've probably seen these before if you're a client. If it's been a while since we've reviewed these and you'd like to go over them, obviously let me know. Again, hope you learned something and hope to talk to you all soon.